presentation by Akshada. But why do we have deep learning? So we are going to understand it, the reason behind it. We are going to, you uh, know the definition of it. Uh, Again, going ahead, we have neural networks, its processing cycle. We are going to understand what is backpropagation, the types of neural networks, and at the end, we are going to implement a hands-on tutorial, one on CNN and the other will be an NLP use case. So let's get started. So first, why do we even need deep learning? So here I have mentioned 4 points. The one is unstructured data. You know, in the world, there is not only a thing just like structured data where you have only tables, features, and the targets, right? Data can be of any form. For example, take images, take audio, take those weather patterns. So data can be of any form. So that's what I mean here, unstructured data. Second point is called the curse of dimensionality. When Akshada was, yesterday in the machine learning workshop, she was, processing all those tables and all. We had, I think, close to near about 10 features as such. But in the real world, in the real case scenario, you don't have uh, 10 or 11 features. You have millions of features. Like data depends on each and every feature affecting it. uh, so yeah, so that is what this curse of dimensionality tells you. And the third is computational cost in the sense machine learning depends on just the core CPU processings. You can tune it to use GPU, but in deep learning the processing is intense. You have to dive deep into the minute features affecting the data. So for that you are going to need much higher computation like GPUs and TPUs and stuff. So that's the reason why for computational cost you have to consider deep learning. And the third is high performance. As I've told you, deep learning utilizes GPUs and TPUs, so the processing is at an higher level that itself results into high performance. For example, take a machine learning algorithm like random forest. If it takes on a CPU like half an hour to train that model, but on a GPU you can train the same model within minutes. So that's why high performance is the case here. So these are the four main reasons why we are looking into deep learning as an option. So second is definition. So deep learning, someone has already mentioned it is a type of machine learning. That was correct. So a type of machine learning based on artificial neural networks. I have highlighted the this term, artificial neural networks, in which there are multiple layers uh, of pre-processing to extract progressively higher level features from data. So these features are extracted automatically, while in machine learning you need to do all those feature processing tasks, feature extraction tasks. Like you need to look into what features affect the data, right? But in deep learning the model itself does this automatically. It tries to extract the higher level features. Okay, so that's the definition. So going ahead, this is what an artificial neural network looks like. This is just an intuition. So you can see this is the first layer. It's also known as the input layer, and the last layer is the output layer, and the intermediate layers lying between the input and the output layer are called the hidden layers. So these strings, as you can see, those are nothing but the connections. It don't you doesn't it seem like it resembles our own biological neural network? Yes, it does. Consider these as the signals, right? The neurons connecting. So these are nothing but the weights and biases. We'll get to that later, but this is how an artificial neural network looks like in picture. So let me give a brief intuition on this. Like an artificial neural network is a large number of highly interconnected processing elements. As I've told you, neurons. So they work in unison to solve a specific problem, be it an image classification task, be it an object detection task, also be it, speech recognition. You can take an ample of examples. Neural networks solve together to, get an output. And each neuron is associated with a weight and bias. So these are the parameters of a neural network. These these play a very important role in training a neural network, weight and bias. So the weights and bias influence the activation of other neurons of next layer. So we have number of layers, right? The input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. So you have to activate these neurons. For activating, weights and biases play an important role. Well, basically, these neurons are activated by an activation function. So activation function is nothing but, and you can call it as a wrapper function over the weighted sum of weights and biases. So yeah, so consider N3 as a node in another layers, suppose the next layer, and N1 and N2 nodes in the previous layer. So you have this activation function called sigmoid. You wrap it over the weighted sum of weights and bias. So not only sigmoid, you have other activation functions such as the hyperbolic tan h. You have ReLU, rectified linear unit. So particular functions have their use cases. So in this case, this is sigmoid. So this is how a neuron activates. So coming to its training, uh, training a neural network involves forward propagation and back propagation. You can also call it as a forward pass and a backward pass. Now, forward propagation is just a forward pass of information from input to process and output. So this output in the forward pass can be any randomized output, because we know that the neural network isn't trained yet. It's just the first pass. So if it generates an output, say y, while in the true sense you have another output which is a true output, say a y bar or y hat, anything you can call it. So you have an output generated by the neural network y, wherein you have the true output y hat. So I want you to keep these both terms in mind. So next, in order to achieve a desired output, like I said, the true output, the neural network uses a technique called backpropagation to learn the exact weights and biases. So training a neural network, uh, in short, means backpropagation itself. So what is backpropagation? So let me brief you regarding this. So the neural network takes the input data, it sets the random weights and bias, it processes an output through forward propagation, compares the predicted output, which is y, with the true output, y bar, and thus calculates the error using a loss function. So a loss function can be anything. Yesterday, I think we used a mean squared error, right? So yeah, you can consider mean squared error as a loss function. So the neural network minimizes this error using an optimizer. An optimizer is the thing which, uh, minimizes this error. An optimizer may be an SGD, Adam. We can go. It's a list of optimizers which tries to minimize the error. I can mention you the optimizers, but we'll see that later. So yeah, so it minimizes the error using an optimizer through backpropagation. So backpropagation is nothing but you have the current weights. From the current weights, you subtract the derivative of the loss with respect to current weight, in with the product of E. E is nothing but a learning rate. So that's how you calculate a new weight. So these weights are updated using this formula. So backpropagation is nothing but just the updation of weights. If you have the right weights, you get the right output. That's it. So here's the formula again, and here's the diagram. So what are the types of neural networks? So we have CNN, convolution neural networks. These are preferred for image data to solve image analysis, image classification problems, be it anything related to image. We have recurrent neural networks and LSTMs. These both networks are preferable for sequential data. In the sense, consider language as sequential. Time series, it is a sequential data. Weather patterns, whether to solve, to analyze weather patterns, you need to look at data in a timely manner, right? So time series. So RNNs and LSTMs are good for time series. We have another one which is GANs. So GANs is a combination of CNNs and unsupervised learning. So this is an advanced topic. We are not going to cover this here. You might have heard of deep fakes, right? So GANs, so deep fakes utilize GANs. Also, we have state-of-the-art architectures, neural networks like BGG16 and ResNet. These both are CNN models, computer vision models. They are state of the art. So I guess that's it for the presentation. uh, if you have any doubts, I'm open to it. Before we start moving for the implementation part, you can also type in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
And those who want to unmute, you can raise your hands. Someone was saying anything.
Yes, ResNet is used for which purpose?
So ResNet is used for classification tasks. It's not just classification in the sense for computer vision to be in general. You can use for semantic segmentation. Like semantic segmentation is, segmenting different objects in an image. Classification is like nothing like either it is a cat or dog. So yeah, ResNet is for computer vision to mention it in general. Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Any more questions? You can raise your hand if you want. Okay, so then I think we have no doubts as of now, so it is better that we proceed further. Okay, fine. So let us go ahead for the implementation part. So first is a convolution neural network. We are going to solve an image classification problem wherein we'll be having a fashion eminence data set. So it is nothing but images of t-shirt, trouser, pullover, dress, coat, sandals, etc. And for each of the classes, we have labels corresponding to 0, 1 to 9. Okay, so I'll explain you in more detail as you go ahead. So let me set my runtime. So we are using Google Colab. Google Colab offers you this amazing, feature of setting your own runtime, whether it may be a CPU or a GPU. So you can go to runtime over here. You can select change runtime type, and for hardware accelerator, you can select GPU. We can select TPU, but we are not going to need it. So GPU would be fine. So let us see. So yeah, we are good to go now. So this is how you install TensorFlow. Let me run this cell.
Aditya, can you also share the link of Google Colab and yeah, whatever you are using it, like share it in the chat box.
Yeah. Like now.
Yeah, so that people can implement it side by side. Like whatever is fine with you.
No, let me like let's hear from the audience. Like, do you go? Let me do one thing. I'll share it. Uh,
I think Aditi, you need to change the settings to share with anyone with the link, and then invite them as viewers. Change to anyone with the link
mm,
at the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, no, I think make them the viewers.
Okay.
So what you all can do is create a copy of this Google Colab, and then you can edit in your own copy. And I also tell you how to create a copy. You will see the option like in the navigation bar, you will see files option over here, and then uh, yeah, see there's an option to save a copy in your drive. So you can save the copy and start editing your own copy. I hope I am clear, and I think we can continue.
Okay, fine. So this is how you install TensorFlow. Pip install TensorFlow. Yeah, make sure you change the runtime to GPU or whatever you want. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so this is how you import essential libraries. From we are going to do it Matplotlib and NumPy for visualizing the images, the data. So these are TensorFlow Keras imports, and here so this data set is available in TensorFlow itself. So you don't need any external data set as such. So when I run this Fashion MNIST, the data set is loaded. So yesterday we had a train test split method, right? To split the data for training and testing. That's the same task we are doing here. So we are loading in the data set and we are training, we are, dividing the data into train and test along with the labels. So the selling is executed successfully. So here's how you can see the shape of the training images. So there are 60,000 images in a training samples with the shape 28 by 28. So what about the train labels? So 28 by 28, let me tell you, 28 by 28 is nothing but the dimension of an image, like the height and width. Okay. So let me print the unique values from our labels. So we have 0 to 9, each telling a class, each signifying a class. As you can see here, 0 corresponds to a t-shirt, 4 corresponds to a coat, in that way. Or and then let us check the size of our test images. So we have 10,000 test samples, the same size, of course. Let me run this. I have missed this. So these are the class names. So data pre-processing. So images, take grayscale images for example. They are, they range from 0 to 255, but you have to, scale it for an efficient modeling. Like yesterday also, Akshada had, scaled the data, right? So that's the same step we are following here for images. So those images, those are NumPy arrays, right? So they can be divided. So we divide them by 255 in the sense to get those images in a range from between 0 to 1. So that's it. We are dividing both the train and test set by 255. So here's what the data looks like. So this is an example of an ankle boat, an image of ankle boat. This is a pullover. So these are all our training samples. We are going to train the neural network on these images. So this is a t-shirt or top. So let's go ahead and see the model architecture. So in the presentation, on the slides, we have seen about neural networks in general, right? So coming to this, we have convolutional neural networks, or often abbreviated as CNNs. So this is how they work. You have an input image, say a bird, then you have these convolutional layers. They extract features from the images. These are convolution layers. So then you have again max pooling. Max pooling is nothing but gaining higher features from the image. That's it, max pooling. Then you have fully connected layers. These are the neural networks which I showed you earlier. Then again you connect a node to it and output a class, say bird, sunset, dog. But in our case we have these clothes. So this is how a convolution operation looks like. You have this image, the input image. This is a filter or kernel. It convolves around the image to give us this second layer. You can say that second layer or hidden layer. This is a convolution operation done on our input image. So going ahead, we define a model's architecture. So a model will be a sequential model. Sequential means you add the layers in a sequence. Like you can see, we have a convolution layer. We so these 32 are the number of layers, number of convolution layers. As you can see here, this part, the convolution part. So there are 32 layers in a convolution layer. Sorry, 32 layers you can say, with kernel size 3 by 3. You can consider this matrix which is convolving around. We have an activation function ReLU to activate the neurons, and the input shape 28 by 28. So 28 by 28, we know that we have seen earlier, it's the size of our image. So what is this one indicates it is grayscale, right? Our images are grayscale, black and white. If you have a colored image, you would have a number like 3 RGB, right? Red, green and blue. So now we are having black and white images. So grayscale is a command like number. So 28 by 28 by 1 is the representation of grayscale input image. So again we have the max pooling layer. As seen here, you have the max pooling layers. So it is 2 by 2. It is also a filter kernel size. Again you have convolution and then max pooling. So this sequence goes on until we reach this flattened layer. See, uh, yeah, anyone has to say something?
I have a doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
In case of input state, for gray images, can we leave it blank just instead of writing one?
Let us see. Okay, that good. Let us experiment this. 28 by 28. Okay, fine. I hope this works, but let us see. So yeah, uh, so you need to flatten those layers. Flatten means, see, our image is of two-dimensional type, right? It can be three-dimensional also. Uh, flattens the input the image, like consider n by n as the image size. So the product of n by n is a flattened layer. So at the end you have this dense layer of with 10 neurons, right? We have 10 classes in our output layer. 10 classes in our data set. So you have 10 neurons in our output layer with an activation softmax. So as someone has suggested to just remove the third dimensional part, which is the grayscale part. Let us see. I'm running the cell. So yeah, so here's the error. So I hope your doubt has been solved. Okay, so you need to mention the color space also. Okay, so that's good. So going ahead, we can see the model summary, like the training parameters and the layers. So we have this convolution layer, we have max pooling followed by it, and again there's a sequence. In the end we have this flattened layer, and at the output we have 10 neurons predicting the class of our input image. So once we define the architecture, we have to compile the model. In the sense, we have to uh, mention the optimizer, the loss function, and the matrix. So this is how you do it. Model.compile optimizer. Here is the Adam optimizer which I was telling you. So it optimizes the loss function of sparse categorical cross entropy. So there are many loss functions. We cannot use mean square, like we can, but it is good to use categorical cross entropy loss function here. And then to evaluate our model, we use this matrix of accuracy. So let me run this. And after you know compiling it, you have to train the model. So you can call model.fit method on the training images with the training labels. You can also specify the validation data to verify whether the model is not underfitting or overfitting. So 20% of our training data is set for validation. So batch size is nothing but the chunk of data you pass to the model at a time. So we have 60,000 images, right? So you cannot pass all of those at once. It can result in bad output. So that's why you have batch size. And you pass the data in batches. So epochs means the number of times you train the model. So I have 5 here. So let me run this. So my model is going to train 5 times. So that's what epochs means here. I think it will take some time. So this is how a model training looks like. And yeah, another point is this is utilizing GPU. Imagine if it had utilized CPU instead. For one epoch, it is taking near about 30 seconds. If you would have used CPU, it may have taken near about 2 minutes, yeah, 2 to 3 minutes. You can also experiment, using other parameters. Like I have shared the link of my Colab notebook. You can also run it. And if you encounter any doubts, you can ask me. So here's our accuracy, 73%. So here's our validation accuracy. So why do we have both these accuracies? As I have mentioned earlier, in the compiling, no, so yeah. So validation split. So 20% of our training data is for validation, right? So this tells you whether our model is, underfitting or overfitting. If there's a huge difference there, then there might be a problem in our model. But as you can see, we are running near close to around 80 to 85% accuracy, training accuracy. and our validation accuracy also is in the same range. So there is no problem in our model. We can also, achieve higher accuracy by increasing the epoch steps, 250 or 100. Also, in some cases, you can extend it to 200, but due to, we have some time limit, so epochs to 5 is good. So, uh, here's how you evaluate a model. So, this is the model evaluation part. You pass the test images and the labels to get a rough sense. So yeah, our model has been evaluated on to give an accuracy on of close to 84%, right? It could be much higher if we had increased the epochs. Okay, fine. So let me take this model ahead, trained on an accuracy of 84% to test the predictions. So here's how you predict the model using model.predict, and you give the test images. For example, let us output the from the predictions the first prediction. So np.argmax is nothing but, yeah, so I'll explain it later when we are when we'll be doing RNN thing. Okay, np.argmax. So it's an ankle boot. So for visualizing, we have this code which takes in the test images, predicts the test images, and outputs the predicted value and the actual value. So if I run this, so yeah, this is our predictions. So the actual value was ankle boot, the predicted is ankle boot. The same goes with the pullover. The actual value is pullover. Same, the predicted value is also pullover. So this is how a prediction CNN models predictions looks like. All right. This was a very simple case, right? But in reality, you have millions of images. For that, you are not even using this model, which we had used earlier. It wouldn't give you any satisfying results as such. But if you use a method called transfer learning, you will achieve a much better score. So what is transfer learning? So here's an image depicting that. Okay. So transfer learning is nothing but there are millions of parameters. Okay, let me put it this way. In the slide, you have seen like there are VGG16, ResNet. So these are pre-trained models. In the sense, those are pre-trained on a huge data set, on millions of images. So of course we don't, our computer doesn't have that computation power, right, to train millions of images. So what you do is you get that pre-trained model and you apply it on your use case. For example, so this is a pre-trained model, the above figure. So you pull the convolution layers. So those layers are already pre-trained, right? They know how to extract the features. So you use those layers, you like you implement those layers in your use case, and just you tune the last layer so as to give you the desired output. This is transfer learning. uh, there are many such pre-trained models available. So here I am in the Keras documentation. So there's exception, there's VGG 16, 19. So you can see the size of those models, 88 MB, 528 MB, and trust me, they can also go at a range in 1000 MBs, right? GBs. Whereas our model, I think we have, yeah. So look at the trainable parameters. We have 56,000 trainable parameters, but these models, they are, then look at the parameters of these models: 22.9 million, 143.7 million. So you can, get an intuition like how these models will perform on your use case. So if you want, you can try transfer learning also. And yeah, so any doubts in the CNN part? Or do you want time to execute the notebook which I have shared? You can raise your hand if you have doubts.
Yeah, Ayush, Ayush.
Yeah, go ahead. Go on.
I wanted to ask about the loss function. Where have you
Sorry,
used it? About the loss function.
loss function. Okay. So yeah, what's your doubt on the loss function?
No, as in where have we used it in the Python file?
Yeah, so where have we used it? Okay, so in the model compiling step, we have passed this parameter of loss function, which is pass categorical cross entropy. So using this loss, the model trains, like for example, as I have told you earlier in the slides. Let me navigate to the correct one. Yeah. So take this neural network for example. If we pass a data, an image, say a T-shirt, and for some or the odd reason, it outputs, an ankle boot. For example, consider this an ankle boot. You pass in an example of T-shirt, it outputs an ankle boot. This is wrong, right? It is extremely wrong. So you all and yeah, and also this also consider this that you also pass in the true output, right? So the model compares the predicted output, which is ankle boot, to the true output, which is a t-shirt. So loss, here we have categorical cross entropy. So this loss tells you that, tells the neural network that, hey, you have done this wrong. It shouldn't be an ankle boot. Instead, it should have been a t-shirt. So the neural network implements back propagation. It updates it updates its ways, and then you get a true output, like a correct output. So in back propagation, we use loss. Is it clear?
What is
Yeah.
Adam?
Adam is an optimizer. See,
Okay.
yeah. So you can see here, minimizes the neural network minimizes the error using an optimizer. So we have an optimizer Adam. It minimizes this loss. Understood? So
Yes.
we have Adam optimizer which minimizes the loss. Any more questions?
Can we use any other optimizer other than Adam?
Yeah, we can go with RMS prop. Would you want me to use it?
Yeah, source.
Okay, fine, let us do it. So for that we have to, again define a model architecture. Never mind, we're running it again. Let us try with RMS prop. It is another, optimizer. I think it should work. Or yeah, I have to, import RMS prop. Let me do one thing. Where are our imports? Yeah. RMS. We have imported RMS prop. Now let us just pass it over here. Typing it correctly. The syntax. Okay. Okay, so we have set an optimizer. Other than Adam, we have set RMS prop. So now let us see what it does. So after compiling, we'll fit our data to the model. You have to wait till it trains. Yeah, by the time it trains, you any more questions like regarding this CNN or anything related to machine learning in general?
Is there any difference in RMS prop and Adam?
They are both, their working is different in the sense they work different. They work in their own ways to minimize the loss. I know one optimizer like it's in-depth working of SGD. It is an optimizer, stochastic gradient descent. So what it does is it minimizes the loss by calculating the gradient, the slope. So it tries to minimize the slope of the curve. So in that way, RMS prop and Adam do both in different ways to minimize the loss. I don't have a
Okay.
complete idea, but yeah, they both work in different ways. It's all, calculus related.
I think this RMS means root mean square, and yes, this calculates loss first and then increases accuracy.
Yeah, RMS, yeah, root mean square. Okay, so the model,
Hello.
yeah.
There are few questions in chat box.
Okay, let me see them.
Can I dictate them or
Yeah, please. I'll be thankful.
okay? So the first question is how to find the best epoch parameter.
Yeah, so that is a hyperparameter. It's always good to experiment. Okay, you can go with it, depends on the accuracy and the validation accuracy also. If you so now we are getting close to about 80%, right? We can go with 10 or 100 too. It depends on our expense, you know. So that is a hyperparameter. You don't know an exact value, exact proper value. Okay. So yeah, that's the answer for it.
Okay,
There's
so
no answer for how many
okay.
epochs you need.
The next
That,
question is how can I limit epoch according to the accuracy? Example, I want accuracy of 86% and do not want to take a large number in epoch as it will take a lot of time and resources. How to achieve it?
you can set callbacks. So there is a function in TensorFlow, basically Keras. So you specify the exact accuracy you want the model to stop training. So yeah, so basically you use callbacks function. So if you want, you can use it callbacks. So it restricts the epochs. Let me show you
Okay.
TensorFlow
And
callbacks function. Yeah, so here it says callbacks can be passed to Keras methods to various stages of model training in an inference cycle. So basically, you can pass callbacks to your training step to restrict the number of epochs. Like if you want your accuracy not more than say 80%, you can use callbacks. So yeah, next.
Yeah, the next one is how to load our model data in the file, replace the fashion data sets.
Wait, let me see. How to load our model
Hello.
data. Yeah, I'm reading it. How to load our model data in this file. Replace the first. What do you mean by model data, Pallavi? I didn't understand
Yeah,
your question.
hello.
Yeah, go on.
Means, sir, our model data set means any data set, sir.
Any data set.
Yeah.
Yeah, so taking your in your use case, what data set do you have? Okay,
Sir,
fine.
textile set.
Okay, fine. So the dataset can be of any type, so images, text. So talking about file format, you can load CSV data. Uh, it's just a general scene like this is how I loaded it from TensorFlow. This is the format of loading the inbuilt TensorFlow data sets. You can just put the path of your data set and then load it using pandas, or yeah, pandas could do. So you can use pandas to load the data set.
Okay.
Is it clear, or do
We
you
can
want me to?
upload it also.
Yeah, you can upload it in the drive. That's not a big issue as such. Okay, so I think that's the last question. Okay, so shall we continue to the RNN part, or do you guys have any questions? Okay, so let me share this notebook too. So here's the notebook for this RNN part. You can use it if you want. So let me change the runtime to GPU. I think we will not need a GPU, but anyways. Okay, fine. So let us start with this. You have too many active sessions. What error am I getting? Just a minute. I can't connect this session. I don't know why. Okay. Use it. Collab
Click on
Pro.
manage session and you can close all the sessions which are not.
Yeah, thank you. I think now we are good to. Great. Thank you. So let's get started. So again, you need to install TensorFlow because this is another notebook. So in the CNN part, we had loaded an inbuilt data set. So here in RNNs, you need much more computation power to train your model. So I thought, why not we create our own data set? So here's how I made this data set. Like you have this list of documents, basically telling positive and negative comments, good work, well done, try again, poor work, and each with labels. If it is positive, then it is denoted by 1, and for negative comment, it is denoted by 0. So document is nothing but a list of comments, and these are the corresponding labels. So this is a very small data set to work on, but we are sticking to the basics, right? So that would do. Like we have just 11 you know 11 training samples. So the computer doesn't understand our English text, right? It understands only in zeros and ones, like only numbers. So you have to encode our textual data. So for that, you're going to use one hot encoding. This is a method to encode the textual data to numeric data. You import the one hot you know method to set a vocabulary size in the sense, uh, the number of unique words in our data set. So as our data set contains of only 11 examples, so 100 would do. And this is how you encode the data. So this is a nested a for loop in a list. So you apply one hot method over the over documents D with a vocabulary size of 100 for each document. So when I run this cell, it has been successfully executed. So when I look at the encoded docs, so this is how you get. So for example, if we consider this first array 47 and 69. So good is encoded as 47 and work as 69. So as you can see, these encodings are of different shapes, right? So there has to be uniformity over your data set. So for that sole reason, you have to you know pass and you have to sequentialize it. Like you can add zeros at the end or also in the beginning to make it all of the same size. So for that, let me make a sequence out of my documents. So you have to import sequence. So maximum length of my each comment I am giving it as 5. So I'm padding the documents my encoded documents to a maximum length of 5, and I am applying pre-padding, like I am, putting zeros at the beginning so as to get a uniform data set. So this is how it looks like. Earlier we were, this wasn't a uniform one. Now we have this uniform data set. So let us look at an example. This is the example. It is pre-padded, zeros in the beginning. So let us build our NLP model. So this is how an RNN looks like. These are the, you can say, gates or hidden layers. So the words in our document, like in our data set, they are passed sequentially at a time. For example, let me take this text. Good work, Aditya. Alright. So good work, Aditya is our training example. So our data gets passed sequentially. So at time t minus 1, or else you can also consider t, alright. So at time t, the word good is passed. At time t2, work, and likewise Aditya gets passed at t3 time step. So it goes in a sequential manner. So that's why for sequential data you use RNNs. So when you pass good, it computes, and the activation function computes a number. It gets passed to the next cell along with the next word, which is verb. So that's how you maintain the memory, like previous memory, right? So by the time you compute, you are computing Aditya, you should also remember that Aditya is followed by good and work, right? So for the sole purpose, you use RNNs. So that might be clear. So going on, this is the same step of importing layers and metrics, losses and all. So again, our NLP model will be a sequential model. It will be a stack of layers. So this is how you add those layers. You add an embedding layer. So embedding is nothing but a representation of your words in numerical, vectors, like how two words are close or similar. So this embedding is a pre-trained, layer. They are trained by it is trained by a TensorFlow only on a huge data set of vocabulary. So this embedding layer uh, is is passed to the vocabulary size of, I guess, 100, and 32 is the dimensions of our embedding layer. Like each word is uh, embedded into a dimension of 32, and we have the input length as max length, which was 5 earlier. So we had this LSTM. So LSTM is nothing but an advanced extension to RNN. You can also use RNN, but LSTM is good. It is better than RNNs. So you have 64 cells like these. So these are 3 cells. So you have 64 cells here, and in the end we have this dense layer, basically to output the class of a comment 1 or 0 with an activation function of sigmoid. So let me run this. After running, let me check the summary of our model. So here it is. We have an embedding layer, again followed by an LSTM, and in the end we have a dense layer. So total we have 28,000 parameters to train. So again, we have to compile our model. So this is the optimizer, RMS prop. Binary cross entropy is our loss. We are using accuracy as our metrics to evaluate our model. After compiling, we can fit the model. But before that, this is just I just for my clarity, I have done this to convert the documents into array, but those are basically those are numpy arrays. So you don't need to run this cell, but however I have run it, so no issue. So this is how you fit the model, NLP dot model fit. So you pass in the documents, you pass in the corresponding labels on 10 epochs. So verbose is nothing but the how do you want to see your epochs to look like. We have verbose equal to 1, which gave us this bar. If we do not mention any verbose, let us see what it gives. Let us run this. Okay, it gave the same. So on 10 epochs, we have this accuracy pretty fast. So let me uh, increase the epochs to say 50, and let us see. This time let us pass verbose as 2. Okay. So now you don't see anything, right? Like here, you just see the epoch and loss accuracy. So what's our accuracy? It's 100%. Fine. Like our model is doing pretty well at classifying the comments, considering only our dataset contains only of 11 comments. So yeah, so this is a function which outputs the prediction. So you remember earlier I had told you that I'm going to explain you about np.argmax, which we use for out, giving out the predictions. So np.argmax is nothing but it rounds off the decimal values. Like if we have an output greater than 0.5 in our node, it returns 1, or else it returns 0. So this function is nothing but it takes the test document, it pads the document so as to make it uniform. It predicts the padded document and it gives the result. So here's our text document, a nice work. Let us check the result by passing a document and model to the function output. So here's the result. So nice work is positive. So let us try another one, which is it is giving positive. I don't know why, but yeah, so that's what the case, right? We have only 11 comments in our document. So there is a general analogy in machine learning concepts: data in, data out. Like no, not that, but there is an analogy. Like if you pass in suppose bad quality of data, you will be getting bad results. Like yeah, so garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, that's what I'm telling to tell you. So yeah, so we have this 11 comments as considered as garbage, that you don't you don't use such kinds of data set for your deep learning task. I think this very word is affecting our results. I think let us check with just bad. I hope, yeah. So now we get 0. So that's what in deep learning data plays an important role. That's what we've learned here. Okay, so that's it about RNNs. Yeah, so that's it. So any questions regarding this? Hello?
Yeah, no question.
Dev Singh, thank you. Seems like you don't have any doubts. You can unmute yourself if you don't want to type your question in the chat box. Come on, any questions? Not just regarding this workshop, any general machine learning or deep learning questions or anything.
Actually, I wanna know about more about layers. Like I did one collab in that I used max pooling 2 by 2 and
Yeah,
filter layers. So
yeah,
what are these dense layers and filter layer? A little description on these.
yeah. Good question. Mm, let me open my other collab. So yeah, so consider this architecture. You have this input image, and following it we have convolution layer. So what is this convolution layer? What does it do? So convolution is nothing but it is a filter, or it is a matrix which computes, you know, it is it convolves around the input image to basically extract features from it. So if you take an example of a car, so what are its features? You have wheels, you have a windshield, right? You have mirrors, side mirrors. So all those features are extracted in convolution layers. And going ahead, you have max pooling. Max pooling is nothing but the high level features in the previous part. Like the convolution layer extracted minute features like wheels, then the max pooling would give you a much more clear picture around it. So you get a maximum information of it, right? So this is max pooling. So yeah, so convolution and max pooling, they go in a sequence. So once you have these filters, once you finish with these filters, you can connect them to fully connected layers or these neurons, as you can see, or else you can just add a dense layer. Dense layer means nothing but these type of neurons. These are convolution layers. This is a dense layer. So yeah, is it clear now?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, so there are 30 in this meeting. Any questions? uh, did you guys try to implement the collab which I had shared you, the notebook? You might have encountered any errors or doubts, I think.
I think Aditya, there are no doubts.
Yeah, it seems like.
Okay, so have you all understood at least what was shared with you today? You can drop a +1 in the chat box. Okay, great, Shipranjali. That's great. You have understood. And what about others? Dave has understood. Okay, we just want to confirm that you all are attentive and active before we start up with the interesting part, that is the quiz. Okay, Pallavi, Vikas, Shipranjali, Pratham, Dave. Okay. Okay, Nemi. Okay, great. So that means you all were paying attention and you got some great insights from the workshop. Thanks, Aditya, for such an interactive and amazing session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all the attendees who have attended yesterday's and today's workshop. I hope you have learned something or the other, if not nothing. And you can also, these were the only basic workshops, right? We just gave you an introduction so at a 10,000 level, 10,000 feet level. Okay. So you can go to TensorFlow's website. You can uh, hop on to Scikit-learn's website. There are many YouTube videos. You can refer them. There are many good Medium articles too. And also Akshada has shared some very good resources yesterday too. I think from iNeuron, and those are very great resources. So you can refer them if you wish to learn further. So yeah, thank you everyone.
And if you want, I can share those links again today in the WhatsApp groups. So I hope you all have joined. If you haven't, you can scroll up. Maybe I can share the links again. Aditi, can you share it, because I don't know why I'm not able to see the message in the chat box.
Yeah, I will. Guys, just a minute.
Okay, we'll also share it at the end of the session. So now let's start with the quiz. So basically this quiz will be covering all the concepts that were taught yesterday and today. So it won't contain anything new or anything very tough. It is just to test your understanding. I am sharing the link and the game pin. So what you have to do is quickly open your browser and move to kahoot.it. I have also shared the link in the chat box. And can the guests confirm if you are able to see the chat box at least? If not, type anything in the chat box. Those who have
We have
joined
not
as
got
guests are
any.
facing the problem. Yes.
The link is not visible in chat box.
Okay, it might take some time. I have already posted it. Aditya, are you able to see the link?
Yes,
What is the game pin?
I have shared a second link, so you all are requested to join with that link. Like, it also contains the code for the game. If you want, I will
Okay.
share the code separately. I have also shared the code in the chat box. Now let me know if you all are able to join, and everyone is requested to join in with their full names. so that we can track the winners and also award you with the certificates and goodies. Okay, let me quickly share my screen.
I have opened the link, but the quiz is not started yet.
Yes, we are waiting for more people to join in.
Yeah, we can.
Can you all confirm if my screen is visible?
Yeah, it's
Yes, your screen is okay.
It is visible.
Okay, great, great. So 18 people have joined in. Who is this dot 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 person? We won't gift any t-shirts or stickers to dot dot dot. So please join in with your full names. There are 30 in the meeting, so hop in quickly. Only 20 have joined. Okay, it's 21. Let's wait for more 15 to 20 seconds and then we will start. Okay, now there are 22. Okay, is anyone left to join? Do you need more time or should we start? If anyone needs more time, please unmute and quickly ask us to wait. Why this dot 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 is here again? Must be some core team member. Okay, great. Does anyone want us to wait or should we start?
Please start, ma'am.
Okay. Hopefully no one is facing any issue now. Let's start. Okay, so the first question is here. Aditya, do you know the answer?
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's see how many of the participants answer it correct. Okay, so 6 have answered it correctly. That's great. Let's move to the next question. Who is on the leaderboard? Wow, Mohit is on the leaderboard. Sahil is next. And Lupna is on the third position. Sumedha and Vedant are also on the leaderboard. So the following tasks handle text data. I think this was discussed in the workshop. Akshada, are you here as well?
Yeah, I'm there.
Wow, 15, no, not 15, only 2 have answered it correctly. Are the questions too difficult? And Vedant is at the top now, followed by Pratham. Okay, let's see. That's great. 19 of you have answered it correctly. Wow, that's awesome. And Mohit is leading the scoreboard now, followed by Sahil. This was discussed today itself. Oh wow, 12 of you have answered it correctly. Looks like most of you were paying attention to the workshop. That's great. Mohit is again at the top. Okay. This one might be easy to answer. Oh, only 4 of you answered it correctly. And let's see who is at the top. Is it Mohit again? Okay, 6th question. Okay, 6 of you have answered it correctly. Ria is the highest climber. Wow, cheers to Ria. Mohit is again at the top. Recall is also known as. Are 20 seconds too less, by the way? I think it's enough. Okay, 9 have answered correctly. Wow, that's great. Mohit is again at the top, followed by Sahil and Sumit.
This means Mohit has been attentive in both the workshops.
Yes, that's great. That's great. The father of machine learning is, I don't know this, I guess. All the names are so similar. It's confusing. Oh, wow, still 13 have answered it correctly. That's cool. That's cool. Mohit again at the top, followed by Sahil. Mohit, did you know the questions before? Were the questions leaked? Okay.
This is a bit tricky question. Let's see who gets into it.
Wow, 10 people answered it correctly, Akshada.
Yeah, so they have revised the concepts.
Yes, and Lubna has the highest answer streak of 3. Wow. Mohit and Sahil again at the top. सब लोग पढ़ के आए लगता क्विज के लिए सिंसियरली. ये भी आज डिस्कस हुआ था. How many of you were taking notes?
The ones who are going to get right answer.
Yeah. So 8 have answered it correctly. That's great. Again, it's Mohit, Sahil, and Lubna. Others, come on. We have more 10, 11 questions. No, 9 questions, I guess. Are you getting enough time to Google the questions, by the way? Okay, only 4 could answer this, so that means you are not Googling it. Oh, Lubna's overtook and she's at second position now, and Mohit is at first position again.
Mohit, a competitor for you.
Yes. So the following is ML library. Okay. I think you all can answer this. Only 3 have answered it correctly. And Mohit again at top. The leaderboard is still the same.
Yeah.
Smita is the highest climber. Okay, 13th question now.
More 7 questions for you.
7 questions, maybe scoreboard can change entirely.
Yeah, right. The answers are quite fast for this question.
Right. Wow, 11 have answered it right. That's cool, that's cool. Oh, Pratham has climbed up and is at the second position now. Okay, this was discussed yesterday.
Yeah, right. So it is also known as
Confusion matrix is a hint over here.
yeah, right. So it's very confusing. Let's see who gets into it.
Wow, 12 answered it correctly. And Akshada, you see when I was paying attention.
Yes, right.
I should get some rewards too.
Sure,
Mohit
sure.
is at the top again. Pratham is second. Raj is third. And Path is the highest climber.
I hope this is an easy question. Let's see who gets wrong.
15 have got it correct.
Okay, so have others marked. It is not a type of supervised learning.
Mohit is making a comeback with 3 in a row. Mohit was always at the top. He's making a comeback. Pratham and Raj are also leading the scoreboard. Sahil has disappeared from the scoreboard. I'm shocked.
More 4 question, guys. Cheer up.
Yes. Both A and B, are these questions shuffled or maybe there's some problem with this question? I think A and B are these 2 options, blue and green ones.
Yeah, right. I guess there is some. Both A and B means both sigmoid and LRC.
Yes. 9 were able to answer it correctly.
Wow, that's great. It's not both functions. LRC is used for linear regression.
Okay. Thanks, Akshata. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So Raj is the highest. Raj has the highest answer streak of 5. Congrats. And Raj is on the second now. Mohit is still at the top. So
I don't think anyone is going to beat Mohit.
let's see. Ratio between two positives and all the positives.
Yeah,
I
this
think we
was.
discussed it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and only 4 could answer it correctly.
Never mind.
ये pro ML कौन है? Answer streak of 4. Congrats. And Mohit is at the top. Pratham is second. Raj is third. The command for training the models. Paid attention on the hands-on.
See today.
Yes. And only 6 could answer it, right? Model.train was the obvious answer. So 14 answered that. But no worries.
Yeah, we use fit method for training the model.
Right. So Mohit, Pratham and Raj are still leading the scoreboard. Pranjali and Samiksh are at third and fourth and fifth position. Last 2 questions. ये भी डिस्कस हुआ था, I remember. Wow, 9 answered it correct. And again, Mohit, Pratham and Raj are leading the scoreboard. And now we have our last question. Okay, by the way, okay, let me announce it after the quiz. If my data is 100% on training set and 70 on testing. Okay, this is the obvious one. Let's see the correct answer. And only 7 could answer it, right? Okay, now let's see the final leaderboard. So at first position we have Pratham, answering 12 right?
So Mohit is going to be first, I guess.
And yay, Mohit is first, answering 13 out of 20 questions. And also, I think it considers the speed as well. And Shipranjali was fourth, I guess. Who was fifth? Akshada, did you see?
Yeah, sorry.
Who was fifth?
Lubhana, the one who was the best climber in between the quiz.
Okay, did you guys notice who was the fifth one? Well, no worries. Congratulations to all of you. It was a really competitive quiz. So let me announce the prizes now. Mohit, as he has topped the quiz, he will be getting a GDSC branded T-shirt and a sticker pack. And Raj and Pratham, both of them will be getting GDSC branded sticker pack. So now what you have to do is all the 3 winners, you have to DM us on our Instagram account. And Mohit, please send us your t-shirt size. And yeah, well, DM us on the Instagram account. We'll let you know what are the further steps. Congratulations to all of you. And now I will be sharing the feedback form. Is my screen still visible? I have stopped sharing it.
No, it's not.
Let me quickly share our GDSC Instagram handle with you. have sent the link to our GDSC Instagram account. Winners are requested to DM us and also mention your position in the quiz. We'll contact you for further steps for getting the rewards. Congratulations to everyone. Let me share the feedback form quickly. Only those who fill this feedback form by midnight today midnight will get certificates, and this feedback form won't be shared on WhatsApp groups. Only the attendees have to fill it, so please make sure you don't share it with anyone. And we also have the track of attendees, so even if you share it, they won't get certificates. And yeah, wait for a while because we need to download the attendance. Sending the feedback form, just a minute. Don't leave the meeting yet, sharing the feedback form. It is in the chat box. Are you able to see it? And well, apart from this, we would also like to hear from you the feedback. So if you want, you can unmute and give us the feedback, like what you liked and what you expect more from us in our future workshops. You can share anything that you want to. You can unmute and share it. Else, no worries, you can fill the feedback form. And don't leave downloading the attendance. Ashushti, is the attendance downloaded? Okay, I think it's downloaded. So you all. Yeah, I think it's you all can leave the session because attendance is downloaded. So that's it for today. Thank you all for joining in, and I hope you all got. Yes, Pranjali, you want to say something?
No, I said thank you for those sessions and have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye. Thank you for joining.